Here's Brody Brazil.
You know, with all these big recent developments surrounding the Oakland A's and potential relocation to Las Vegas, it's interesting how it's all transpired in the offseason. Like, would this have played out any differently? Would the reaction have been different if it had happened during the summer, like during an actual Major League Baseball season? But nonetheless, we're converging now on 2024 and looking ahead towards a year where we know where the A's will be playing, but we do not know so many things, including public perception and the fan response. But I think one critical approach we can already have is this: to start separating A's players from the situation that's playing out with the team in the city of Oakland and potentially moving to Las Vegas. Maybe sometimes we lump everything all together. The players, the team, baseball, what may or may not happen. It's time to at least take the current A's players on that roster and separate them from everything that's happening. And let me just first explain this. Why am I here to say that? Why me to explain all of this to you? Because I really don't want to speak for anybody. I would never speak for everyone. But yeah, I do kind of find myself here as a middleman. I know how passionate the fans are, and I know the player perspective. I know how they view things, but sometimes, like the way fans view players, and I'm in the middle, I can see that they're not always eye to eye, or like there's some lost in translation in the middle of all this, and that's what I'm here to do in the middle, is to try and translate all this. So I do find myself as a middleman here between what I know about the fans and what I know about the players. And here's what I know about A's players, for example. They are laser focused on success. Success for themselves individually, success for their team, and trying to do a lot better than they have each of the last two seasons, and to try and make that happen immediately. I'm not saying they're all one-trick ponies and, you know, they don't do anything else besides eat, sleep, and rake, right? Like, not like out in the yard, but like with a baseball bat. But they are so laser focused on doing well and everything that goes along with it, being physically fit, conditioning, training in the off season, anything they can do to get better, that they kind of have blinders on to a lot of other things, including politics, including a Nevada state legislative session, including city council meetings in Oakland, and everything else, right? So players don't really have the bandwidth to be focused on much more. And I know that sounds shallow, but that's who they are. And that's what they do. And they're highly compensated for it. And if they take one slip or misstep and they're not the same person performing the same way, then they lose out. So they are laser focused on that. I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to explain who they are and why, when asked about these things or understanding it, they may not have a full grasp on what has happened, what is happening, and what could play out next. Players are also largely not from here. When I say here, we could be talking Oakland, the Bay Area, or even just Northern California. And these players have different teams and allegiances. They come from all parts of the country, the continent, the world. If you tell a player that, hey, you know what? I heard University of Texas is considering moving to Maine. All of a sudden, that kind of gets under their skin. Wait, what? Why? They're passionate about that. But if you tell them, hey, the team you're on, the Oakland A's, might be moving, maybe it just doesn't hit the same way. They're not from here. They don't have years and decades and 50-plus years of history with this team, like a lot of people that live in the Bay Area do. And so it's the same way how, you know, I take the Rays situation seriously, but I know a lot of people around the country, they know about it, but it's not necessarily number one on their radar. Or like, let me give you another example. When the Seattle Sonics moved to Oklahoma City, for whatever reason, I felt kind of like that wasn't a great move. It gave me a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm not from Seattle. I have really no connection there. When I saw the Atlanta Thrashers move to become, well, the next Winnipeg Jets earlier in the 2010s, I guess I cared, but I didn't have that much connection. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. My point is, these players have other teams and schools and things that they're aligned with. Maybe the one they play for And the fan base, while they're proud to represent it, maybe it just doesn't hit for them the same way that other things do. Players are nomadic by nature. I mean, their contracts are only for a few years at a time. They also understand that at any time, they could be traded somewhere else, like that. So you can't really get too attached to any one place. Now, that's what makes the players who understand the area or who are from somewhere else but then come to live here after their career's over, that's what makes those ones special, or the ones that can stay with the Oakland A's or the San Francisco Giants or the Golden State Warriors or the San Jose Sharks or the San Francisco 49ers. If you can stay with one of those teams your entire career and become a Bay Area person, that's awesome. But 99% of professional athletes in this area are nomadic by nature. They often move to multiple cities in their careers, and especially at the beginnings and at the ends. So this is nothing new to them. They don't have the same attachment to developments and to maybe where they play. Players also hear news stories and bits and pieces really without the full context. Now, I'm not saying, again, like I've established before, that they're laser focused, they've got blinders on, they're purposely busy, and usually they do the diligence of understanding like the contours of the story. Like they understand, oh, we might be moving after this year. But I can almost 1,000% guarantee you that they don't know about a stadium site or public funding or a referendum vote potentially or stadium design issues or a relocation fee being waived or projections in Clark County or how bonds are going to be floated. Like all the stuff that, well, you might know from watching this channel, and I found out along the timeline here. I guarantee that 100% of players are aware of this situation, but 99% of them don't have the full details that might help them like shape their feelings on it. And oftentimes players are weeks late, weeks behind in what they hear, and they're minus the entire story. Look, that's fine. I'm not being critical of them. I'm just saying we need to separate them from being part of all this. They don't really have knowledge of all of it. Also, players really can't grasp the history or the backstory of this entire saga. Like, if we're really talking about the A's and we're really going back to the 2000s and Fremont and San Jose and different sites in Oakland, I mean, if we're talking about 20 years ago, look at the age of some A's players and tell me where they were at 20 years ago. Some of them were literally in preschool 20 years ago. Yeah. So we can't necessarily expect them to really get it or know about it even 3 to 5 years ago. Like when Howard Terminal was, pumped out there and that was a big deal and that was the idea. Like even players currently on the A's, where were they 3 to 5 years ago? Not around, have really no clue about this entire situation, far detached from the current spot that they're in right now. You and I know all this. Maybe we're older, maybe you are too, or maybe you've just been around the Bay Area your entire life. Players also really don't want to burn any bridges. Like what if I'm a player and I have no control over this, I have no influence over this, why would I want to burn any bridges? I don't want to burn a bridge with fans or people in Oakland. I don't want to burn a bridge with fans or people in Las Vegas. I don't want to make Major League Baseball upset with me. I don't want to make my boss upset with me. Like, it's a tough situation. It's easier to say nothing, which a lot of players do. Now, I've said before that not a lot of players have the full details here. There are some that have a lot of details, and there are some that have a lot of opinions. You saw how Trevor May handled the situation, literally on the same live stream when he retired. He didn't want to burn a bridge while he was playing. And in Trevor's case, it's different because he was retiring and he was a big leaguer. He knew he wasn't going back to Las Vegas. How about a lot of young A's players who are in the majors, but you know what happens when you get sent down, right? You know where you're going, right? You know the bridge you don't want to burn, right? You also don't want to bash your major league city because if you like it there, you probably don't want to speak poorly on it either. even if you're frustrated on how things have gone from that regard. So players don't even really want to speak about this, quite honestly, but for whatever reason, a lot of times they're put in that spotlight. I would also say that players can actually sometimes easily confuse the Coliseum for the fans. What do I mean by that? A bad facility like the Coliseum, an outdated, dilapidated, overextended facility, outdated, that doesn't mean the fans are bad. Like if you take all the fans that show up and how many thousands and tens of thousands more would show up to, Howard Terminal under different circumstances, the facility being like it is and the crowds that show up have nothing to do with the fans. Attendance has nothing to do with the current players or team. Don't take it personal, even though they might, and say, where is everybody? Yeah, there's a much deeper situation happening there than just, they don't root for us or they don't pull for us. But they might not understand that. If you've just shown up to the Oakland A's within the last 18 months, maybe you don't who explained that part to you? Somebody must have. And that's why I'm saying in this video, the whole point of this, we got to just take the players out of the equation. They detach them from everything going on. It's unfortunate that they are bystanders in this, but they don't have actually much to do with this. But players will be interviewed about the situation. As an authority figure, what do you think about the team moving? What's your comment? Of course, spring training's going to happen. You watch in February. That's going to be a question. Some players will talk, some won't. Some will give the most vanilla quotes possible. The media should know that, this stuff here isn't baseball. Moving a team, this has happened once in the last 50 plus years. This isn't baseball. This is business, but it's really personal for a lot of people. This isn't a baseball conversation, media members. And for the reasons I've given here, these players are bad authorities and authoritative figures on the subject. I know it's easy. Well, what do they think? They're here, they talk, they're used to commenting and interviews. They can't say no. Yeah, but you might as well ask me what I think about the sport of cricket. I like it. I like the idea of it. I have not watched much and I don't understand it. So why in the heck should I be commenting on it to that level of detail and importance? Just a consideration in this. And I also think that fans, this is kind of the main point, should view the players separately from the situation. Some current A's players, I can think of a couple right now, Ruiz and Geloff. I like Boyle. I like Mason Miller, Langoliers, on and on. Soderstrom, I don't think we saw the best of him yet. But some current A's are going to go on to have very good big league careers. But the turmoil right now, because everything else that's going on is spoiling the taste of who they are, what they do for fans. But this is not on them. Had these guys come up in 2019, you'd love them. 2018, 2017, it's the same, difference of how you feel about Matt Chapman and Matt Olson and Marcus and Sean Murphy versus the players that are here now. Yeah, they feel different, but it's not their fault. And quite honestly, they're missing out on a lot of the major league experience because I don't know that there's true or any excitement around who they are, what they're doing, and there should be. Quite honestly, it's not fair to them. And so I'm just saying fans need to view the players, who they are, where they're at, what they could be in a totally different light. So it's hard, and I know maybe some of these thoughts were a little bit all over the place, but we really have to separate the players from what's going on and don't expect them to say much. And over the course of time, if they do things or say things that you don't agree, not to make excuses, but they probably shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. Sometimes they'll just do what they're told to do, or they'll try and accommodate or appease whoever's asking for something. We really have to separate the players from the actual situation and attempted relocation. You made it here to the end of the video. I appreciate that. Give me a thumbs up down below. That'll help this video and the channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe so I can definitely see you back here next time.